Welcome to the Marketing Revolution Podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution Podcast and the Marketing Savage Facebook group. Let me scoot over here to you so I can be in the camera. And we are live with a live podcast inside of the Marketing Savage group. So how you guys doing today?
I'm
what a
doing
team!
good.
What a team! What a team!
I'm doing good.
You know, I put a post out there earlier today for some of you podcast listeners, or for some of you folks that are just getting caught up with everything that's going on right now. But I put a post out earlier today. What the hell was that about? I put a post out there earlier today.
Just telling you.
For 75 Hard, and we now have 40 participants in the Marketing Savage group that's coming on board with the 75 Hard challenge. We're all starting on Wednesday, the 11th. And to be honest with you, like, I wasn't going to do 75 Hard again. Like, I really wasn't. I was working with a bodybuilder, and
but John got lazy, and then he started eating a bunch of stuff he wasn't supposed to be eating. Not just like a serving size. It was more of like,
a
whole bunch of shit.
In all honesty, though, what it really comes down to for me,
Krispy Kreme donuts. Like, I would eat one donut,
and sent me to Krispy Kreme,
and then John would eat like 5 of them.
This girl fucking sent me to Krispy Kreme donut in the middle of the night.
I wanted one donut. I ate one donut.
Yeah, but she knows that I got to eat 3. Look at me.
And then he comes home with a big thing of milk, and he guggles
I'm a big guy.
And the next thing you know, he's fucking bloated.
You know what? Oh, we got one of them fucking
like,
crispy.
Hey,
here's a problem. Here's a problem with this situation.
More than one.
We moved down here to Texas, and we moved right in front of a Krispy Kreme donut factory. It's not only doing the Krispy Kreme donuts, like selling them there. They are literally manufacturing them there, where you see the fucking donuts come out this conveyor belt, like you walk into a donut factory.
I like the ones with the chocolate on top, with
pouring the icing on there. So yeah,
icing stuff in the middle. That's good.
I'll admit that I sat down a couple days ago. I sat down a couple days ago, and I said, not only the part about 75 Hard that I need is the diet part, right? Because I got to admit, you know what I mean? I'm a pretty big guy, man. You know what I mean? Like, I can eat some motherfucking donuts, go work out, and somehow them donuts will turn into some fucking, like, a muscle somewhere or something like that. Like, I'm a pretty fucking big guy, right?
And go straight to your belly.
Listen to this shit. But my friends, like, what really made me want to go back and do 75 Hard is when I looked back at all the accomplishments that I literally am receiving benefits today, the last time that I did 75 Hard.
And crack that whip a little harder on him too.
Girl, you ain't cracking no fucking whip.
Oh, yes, I
do. The other day.
I do it all the time. I do it all the time, and you know it.
The other day, I had to come down on her ass. I had to tell her, I'm like, listen, here's the way it fucking is. And I told her ass the way that it fucking was. And she told me, she goes, I said that to Kayla. And I said that to, who else did you talk to?
Jen.
Kayla. I said that to Kayla and Jen, and they weren't so hard on me. They weren't so hard on me. And I said, well, that's because you needed to hear the fucking truth. And you know what she told me?
Don't listen to him.
She got mad for a little while, my fellas, my friends out there. She got mad for a little while, right? But you know what? She ended up turning to me and she goes, you know what? She said, thank you for telling me the truth.
You're kind of gloating a little bit too much.
Thank you for coming at me. Thank you for stepping up and being the fucking man of this household. Grabbing a hold of my ass and telling me how the fucking shit's going to be. Don't ever think, men, that ain't important to do this.
And don't you ever forget that I have saved your ass more than one time, more than 2 times. I probably saved your ass like
she's bailed me out
more than 10 times.
She's bailed me out of jail a couple times.
Saved your ass. And what did Dan Constantino tell you?
Well, yeah, you know it. Yeah.
He's like, you better went out there and bought her a nice handbag for what she did.
And I fucking did.
Yes, he did.
So, hey, I don't know if you guys.
And some boots.
Yep.
Sweatshirt.
We'll see. She better be on the lookout because I got the tightest boots in this house.
Hey, he was making people we didn't even know.
People were
They were petting him. They were petting his cowboy boots.
My boots.
Petting his boots.
Not only are my boots fucking crocodile, but them motherfuckers look like they came out the water. It looked like the scales of a crocodile, man. I never usually spend this much money on a pair of boots, my friends, but it was one of them situations.
Turned into a boot whore, just like
this. It was just one of them situations where you put them motherfuckers on and you knew they were your boots. Like there was no questions to be asked. It was almost like the cowboy hat situation.
We were in a sneakers store yesterday, and one of the gentlemen that worked there, John, had the guy petting.
I told Little Punks.
I looked over, and
I told
John
the Little
had
Punks.
his foot on the counter, and the guy was petting the shoe, petting the cowboy boot.
He asked me if he could pet him.
I'm like, what the hell am I seeing right here?
You know what, though? Something about Texas jumping into a pair of boots like that. I mean, I felt like I was on like a fucking, like it became my magic carpet. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you can like really be a man since we've been down here in Texas?
Oh, well, I feel like I've always been could be a fucking man.
I know, but you know what I'm saying? Like it gave you like, you know.
It even gave me a manlier, there is something about Texas that's fucking manly. I can't deny that. I cannot deny that. There's something about Texas that's very fucking manly. There's a lot of manly dudes here, I mean, especially if you go down like in Fort Worth, Texas,
I love Fort
where,
Worth.
dude, man, so I'm rolling down there. You guys know I got a pretty nice truck, right? And you guys also know that I had a dually, that I fucking loved because I fucking love dualies. And now we go down to Fort Worth, and that's the fucking Cadillac of Fort Worth, or that's the Lamborghini in Fort Worth.
Yes, it is.
But it's not only a dually, my friends. It's a fucking dually with like 30-inch rims on it. Like they put these big motherfucking forged rims on these dualies, and they look bad as fuck. I mean, they look bad as fuck. And yeah, that shit. Yeah. Fort Worth. Like if y'all get a chance, you come down to Texas, you can go into Dallas and stuff like that. And it's kind of hit or miss down there, but you go into Fort Worth, man, that's where you see some pretty manly dudes.
This is how I
on top of that,
it.
You see a lot of fucking, like a lot of
I
badass
describe
trucks.
it like around Dallas, Frisco area. Like you see a lot of very high-end sports cars. When you go to Fort Worth, you don't see that. You see all the jacked up trucks.
You see some badass trucks.
The rims, tires, $15,000, $20,000 worth of rims and tires that's on that truck.
Yeah, you probably get a set of them 30-inch rims, like a 30-inch rim tire kit. You're probably gonna have $20,000 in that shit because it ain't cheap.
My pickle.
It ain't cheap to get them 30-inch rims, and then it's not cheap to get tires that fit 30-inch rims. We was out here in front of we walked out of the Walmart down here yesterday, and there was one sitting out there, and this was a Ford dually, which I'm probably gonna end up getting a GMC. My next one's gonna be a GMC dually, but the Ford, it was a Ford dually. There's a lot of folks that drive Fords down here, by the way, so this is a big Ford area.
It was a nice truck.
But we walked out and we seen it sitting there. And I checked out the rims, and the rims were actually manufactured and made up here in Fort Worth. And the truck was bad fucking ass, but that's on the list. That's on the list, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the list. We've been looking at them and stuff like that. And like I said, you guys know I got a badass truck, but having the dually and just understanding like how that thing hauls shit. I mean, you put 20,000 pounds behind that motherfucker, go 120 miles an hour down the highway, you wouldn't even feel anything behind you. And that's country right there. And if you don't think so, you can kiss my ass.
Oh my gosh. You're funny.
But you know what? Going back to the 75 hard thing. So what we actually just right before I got on here, I created a messenger group. And So what we're going to do is we got 40 of us over there inside of this messenger group. If any of you guys want to get in on this before Wednesday, hit me up. Okay. I don't mind adding a few additional people, some more people to it. If you're currently, did add a few people that were currently doing 75 hard because, I know it's hard, man. And they need a support group. So I wasn't going to be super strict about what day they started, shit like that. But the majority of us are starting this Wednesday, the 11th. And I told him in there, I told him inside the messenger, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to make a public post here in a little while. I'm going to name everybody who's going to be doing the Savage 75 hard. I call it the Savage Edition because we're going to be talking about it inside of the Marketing Savage group. Y'all are going to see 40 badass ripped motherfuckers when this thing is done. You're going to see businesses blowing up. You're going to see lives being changed and shit. Like, you're going to see some amazing stuff happening right here inside of the Marketing Savage group, which leads me and the wifey here, we've got some situations that are coming up. We're trying to figure out where we're going to open up our first office. And I'm pretty fucking sure, I'm not going to say what it is now, but a really good friend of mine, you guys hear me talk about on the podcast, is going into a bigger building. And I'm pretty damn sure we're going to be able to go into that building. And if we go into that building is going to have an event center attached to it, which essentially means we're getting everything primed, my friends, for a Marketing Savage event. And it's going to be one of them really cool things. Like, I can't make this like a normal event, though. So there's a lot of brainstorming going on right now. Because I don't want this to be like a normal event where people show up and there's, speakers. Like, I want this to be an event that can actually change people's life. I want transformation to be like a big part of this event where when people come, they expect to leave like a totally fucking different person.
Hey.
And
I'll let you finish.
Well, you just interrupted me, so why don't you go ahead? I was
thinking, because you always tell me like I never want to talk on these things and that you have to do all the talking, but we should talk about.
She says that I take her shine away. I'm over here just trying to be like,
does.
Guys. So this is John Hiley here. I'm sitting right in front of my wife because I don't want you to see her. Because if you guys see her, then the attention will go off of me, and I'm here for all of the attention.
That's very true. That's very true. Because if anybody's that's been around us, like,
you're gonna finish this up. Then
talks all the time.
All right, so guys,
I'm a very good listener. See, that's the thing. Yep. Like, I'm a good listener.
So you guys are gonna see how this works, okay?
John's
so, honey,
like
I'm gonna let you wrap this podcast up. Let's get going.
Well, what I was thinking that we could talk about together.
See, she doesn't want to leave me out, right?
No, because I wouldn't do that. That's not how I am.
Mm-hmm.
I like to share the sparkle.
See, this is how you have a 20-year marriage right here. This shit right here is how you have a 20-year marriage. We can talk shit to each other. We can make fun of each other. And at the end of the day,
I like to, when he makes me mad.
At the end of the day,
my favorite thing to do when he makes me mad is I pinch his nipples.
My God.
Oh, I just get them in a twist them.
I feel like they're under.
And it makes me feel good.
I feel like they're under constant jeopardy. It's terrible. Like,
that's my favorite thing to do. I love it.
At any moment, she could move her hands, and it causes me to hide my nipples. Like, she could just like move a little bit, and I'll be like, ah.
No, but we should talk about our trip. Like, once the house was sold, because we haven't done a podcast in like forever.
It's true. That's true.
We should talk about our from leaving Ohio and making it here to Texas, because John even says to this day, so we've been in Texas for about a month now. We're in an Airbnb, and then we're getting ready to be in another Airbnb for just a little bit longer. So we get to move into our home.
Yep.
But
technically, Dan's is not like an Airbnb. I mean, he's going to Airbnb it, but it's our friend Dan's house that he's going to rent to us for about a month and a half.
But see, John, even till this day, he even says, I cannot believe that you were down for selling the house, picking up, and moving from Ohio
feels like a fucking
all the way
dream
to Texas.
It almost feels like a dream, because I know this girl like never wanted to step that far out of her comfort zone. And like literally, we sold our fucking house, sold everything in it.
I was glad to get rid of the house. That was because it was either like we sell this house and move into a better house, or we keep the house and then we have to like renovate the whole thing. And I didn't know if I was really wanting to like put a bunch of money in that, because then it's like, if I would have did that, I would have wanted to stayed in Ohio, because then the house would have been all like redid. It would have wanted to keep me there longer.
And, you know, we literally, we're probably just about a month into our trip from Texas, but we had to travel down here with all of our dogs. And, you know, your boy here, we stopped and we slept at a truck stop overnight because I wasn't paying for no fucking hotel.
No, that's not.
Hell no, I'm not paying for no
that came up
fucking
with that
hotel.
Idea.
My grandma used to drive me to Florida.
Came up with that idea, not you.
My grandma used to sleep in truck stops.
The perfect
so can we.
Stop.
So our son John, who's actually over here right now, sitting beside us, working away on Sunday, man.
Yeah,
proud of that boy. So he got his first taste of sleeping at the truck stop. waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth in the parking lot and shit.
He did an amazing job driving down here. When we were driving through Nashville, we drove through some horrid storms, and I was crying, and my anxiety was like on.
She's trying to tell me to pull over. I said, "Woman."
They were bad.
I ain't pulling over.
No, we didn't pull over. We kept going. Jonathan had no problem whatsoever.
It was fucking pouring through Nashville.
It was like, I felt like we were driving through a river on the interstate. That's how bad it was raining.
Yeah, there was like police out. It was flash flooding on the sides of the road and shit like that. But we made it through. And Johnny Boy was driving behind me. Mm-hmm. Even jogging in and out of lanes and stuff like that. I mean, my truck, I was hauling I probably had 5,000 pound payload behind me, and he was
hauling another one of our vehicles.
Every time I haul, I call that I give it a poundage, and I call it a payload.
John. Okay, this is what John does. It's because like John likes to pretend, or he likes to act. He loves to play pretend.
Hey, now.
So any trip that we have made driving wise from Ohio to Texas, John turns into a truck driver. Yes, he turns into a truck driver.
I pull up right beside him too. I hang out with him at the truck stops.
But the thing is like one of your clients is like a truck driver, and John like knows all this lingo. He knows the different semis. That's
my job as a marketer. Like I figure out what
that
the
are
fuck.
Like the panty droppers. He knows like the ones that are like that are not so good.
Hey, let me tell you something, man.
Yeah.
I'm rolling down the highway and I see a fine looking Peterbilt right there, Tweety Bird pipes.
Listen to how.
I'm a looking and I'm a liking.
Like, how in the hell do you?
I'm a looking and I'm a liking. Like I know all about these things now. You know why though? As a marketer, when you work with somebody, we had to find out what was going to appeal to all the truck drivers out there. Yeah. So when we did, and when I started writing some of the copy and all this kind of shit, like I realized a truck driver is going to talk a hell of a lot different than, you know, an auto body man, or going to talk a hell of a lot different than an attorney, or is going to talk a hell of a lot different than a real estate agent. Right. So when you actually go to the market for somebody and you work on somebody's shit, you need to understand the language of who you're trying to connect with. And part of that's just, you know, the trucker language is fucking crazy, man. Like, and the stuff, man, these guys love these trucks, like love the fucking trucks. And Peterbilt's a big one. There's like the Kenworth, the older Kenworths. Like some of these fucking trucks are bad as fuck.
But weren't you saying like Volvo is like not on the?
You know, Volvo is what you're going to buy if you're a big company and you just like want to turn around and you're putting drivers in it and shit like that. Like there's a difference between somebody who like drives for a company and then like a fucking truck driver, right? So there's truck drivers that are just like, they have this identity of a truck driver, you know, and they remember the days when, you know, when the pay was better. They remember the days when the work wasn't so hard and the payloads were better, and you know, back in the good old days. And you got to bring that shit up. You got to build that nostalgia like around the fucking trucking drivers when you're communicating, talking to them, and trying to bring them and pull them in. And we done a really effective job of doing that on some Facebook campaigns, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So hell yeah, I know. I even walk in the motherfucking trucker entrance in the gas station. Come around back, walk in the back door.
Well, that's where we always parked, because we always like
right alongside the truckers.
Yeah, we always parked like back where the semis were and stuff like that. And Of course, John's like even walking a little differently. Like
part of this is because I'm a funny dude.
Part
of this is just because I'm a funny dude and I like to make her laugh.
Yeah.
So
I know John can like piss me off, and I want to kill him. And the next thing you know, it's like my heart melts.
She can't be mad at me.
Then I'm laughing.
She can't be mad at me for that long.
No, I can't.
Shit just don't work that way.
Sometimes I wish I could with some of the stuff that he has done, but I can't.
You know what?
Mushy. I can't. I can't. It's just because like I love him so. I do. I love you so much. I really do.
And we talked about this before. We really did. We talked about this before. I mean, we live in a day and age where people are just so quick to give up on each other. I remember growing up with my dad and my mom, and my dad was always sneaking off, going downtown. I mean, they'd wait for my mom to, where she wasn't she knew she wasn't looking, because my mom, what she would do is and I remember this as a kid, as plain as day. And here's also what you got to remember. So I was adopted by my grandparents. So when I say my mom, I'm talking about my grandmother. So they were much older. Okay. So I got to experience what it was like for older folks who lived with each other. And the older folks weren't so quick to give up on each other, right? Nowadays, people just tend to have a couple disagreements. They can't get along and they're just like, fuck it. Let's just break up. Let's divorce. Let's split up. Well, the older folks didn't do things that way. And being raised by my grandparents, I guess I got the opportunity to actually see that. And what would happen is my mom, she would walk to the back door and she'd look out the back door and she'd go, okay, the old man's still out in the garage. And she would walk back to her chair and she would sit down and she would watch MASH. I remember MASH on TV. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that's the old Army show MASH.
I used to watch that when I was a kid.
Yep. And then she would every time there was a commercial, she'd jump up and she'd take off and walk up there and she'd look out the back door and check him out. Okay, the old man's still there. And she'd walk back to her chair and sit down. And I just watched her do this all the fucking time. Well, they all knew that she did that, right? I mean, like everybody knew it. So they'd put somebody in the back watching for her. So when she came up, they'd see her look out the back door and everything like that. And then she'd turn around and go back. They knew that she wasn't coming back till there was another commercial. So they probably had, 2 or 3 or 5 minutes to get the fuck out of there. And my dad, he always put, like, it didn't matter what fucking kind of car he drove. He was the most humble man ever. Like, he literally had 55 Chevy. He had a 68 Cadillac convertible, had a Corvette, and but what he drove every day was an Oldsmobile station wagon. But every single car that he got, he had to cut off the pipes and put on a set of cherry bombs. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard what a set of cherry bombs sound like, but when you fire that up, it goes, bah, 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 bah. I mean, it just rumbles, right? Yeah. So here he has this station wagon. Everybody would jump in and they would literally have to push it down the road. So they would wait to see my mom. And when she disappeared, they would push a station wagon down the road. They'd jump on it and take off to go downtown for the night. And that basically meant they were going to go fucking bar hopping. So look, my dad came back. Mom was mad. Dad thought it was funny. He didn't take it personally. He didn't really seem like he gave a fuck that she was really angry about it.
Yeah, you've done that shit to me too in the past.
And they just went back to living life. I mean, whatever happened to the times when a man could go out and be a fucking man,
Oh my God,
like,
listen.
I guarantee you, like, here's where everything fucked up. Here's where everything fucked up. Because the way that men and women, the way that we were wired, or the way that we were created, was very fucking tribal, right? Very tribal. So the women would, stick around the camp, right? Our tents and huts and shit like that. And they would, pick berries and pick, stuff, and they would have a salad or whatever ready for us men when we came back, right? And us men would go out on a fucking hunt. Well, here's what would happen. So us men would go out on a hunt and we would probably kill a fucking boar on the first, couple hours of the hunt, but we would say, no, let's go bury that boar and let's tell the women back in the camp that we had to hunt for this boar for 2 days. So then the men would take off and go hang out at other fucking villages.
That's fibbing.
Go party with all the fucking other village people.
That's not nice.
Go have one hell of a time, and they would come back, but I guarantee you them guys had guy code. They would not fucking tell their woman that they caught that boar in 2 hours. They'd come back, they'd go fucking dig up the boar that they caught, probably clean it up, make sure, they didn't get in any trouble. They'd bring the boar back and say, we hunt boar for 2 days, got lost in woods. There it was.
You guys are full of shit sometimes. Men could go out
and have a hell of a good time being men, hanging out with each other, and they didn't have to worry about their woman bitching at them because they wanted to go do that. I mean, it just makes logical sense to me.
You should be really glad I love you. I just let you go on these little rants over here.
What I'm saying makes a lot of fucking sense.
Well, I'm glad you are feeling extra manly right now.
And I'm sure you women were hanging out with each other at the fucking, at the back at the fucking thing. Back at the village, hanging out, sewing things, wondering, when's my man gonna come back? Then we're out there just fucking partying along, found some ayahuasca, ate some mushrooms, went on vision journey for 4 days. And we came back and brought the fucking food.
Remember that one time you ate them shrooms with like my brother and some other people, and you guys were standing on a hill looking at a shoe, wondering
whose shoe it belonged
to. Yeah.
And it was just some random shoe. Man, the shit mushrooms will do to you. It's so funny. Like many of you guys know, like over this last weekend, we had a big Apex event, and not only was it Apex Live, which is essentially like anybody who's like an Entourage member or anybody who wants to come into the network comes to the event. There was like 350 people there. But we also had what's called a Fly-In Friday, which is all the Apex executives who come in. And man, I'll tell you what, some of the people who are the Apex executive, and granted, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many billions of dollars are sitting in this room that we're a part of inside of this group. Like, we have met some of the coolest fucking people on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And many of you guys seen, I had Sammy Oaks on one of my last, Sammy Knight from Mossy Oak. From Mossy Oak. That's why I said Sammy Oaks.
Name wrong.
Sammy Knight from Mossy Oak. That's why I said Sammy Oaks. But when I had him on our podcast a few weeks back, I met Sammy there, right? Like, I literally met Sammy there. I said his fucking company name on accident. Woman, don't you start your shit with me.
Yeah, you start your shit with me.
Show everybody right here on the radio how a man takes care of a woman.
Yeah, and I'll show everybody how I bring you to your knees.
Oh shit! All right, damn man, fucking crazy ass woman.
That's right.
So not only that, but a lot of the people, like, like I just shared a post with like Trevor and Kale, and they have the Real Business Owners podcast. They're part of the Apex Executive. Zach Babcock, from the Underdog Empowerment, one of the #1 iTunes, Apex Exec, like all these people fucking meet up, right? And all of them have had this fucked up, crazy ass past. Shit, Nick Geller, who I had on the podcast, Apex Executive. And we were just talking about some crazy shit. Like, the dude literally fucking last time he did mushrooms, he woke up in the fucking field naked. Woke up in the middle of a field naked. And if you guys ever seen Nick, that might be an interesting picture. He's joined 75 Hard, so I'm going to push his ass to trim down a little bit. But that dude literally woke up into a field naked after doing a bunch of mushrooms. And that's the shit we talk about. Like, you would think we'd sit around and talk about, and we do talk about some investments and stuff like that, but that's some of the crazy shit that we talk about are things that happen in our life that was just fucking nutso. And it's just hilarious. We literally can sit at a table and somebody will literally, well, I got a story for you about that. Here's the time this shit happened to me. And here's the time that happened to me.
I love stories like that.
And
that's my fave.
That's the best. That's the absolute best. And shit, I can't even remember. You've only ate mushrooms once, haven't you?
Yeah, but I didn't go like all the way out there. I ate it to the point where everything was getting good, and then I ran out of them and didn't have any more.
Yeah.
So
I know we were talking to Kale and Trevor about, and I think we've already talked about this a little bit on the podcast. And in fact, Trevor wants his next visit on this podcast. We're going to go dig a little bit deeper into this, but there's a guy out there where they live that's a shaman, and he does these fucking experiences where you actually drink ayahuasca and you do DMT, and it's like a 2 to 3 day experience. And I'm not going to tell you the high level people that have been out to see this guy, but I will tell you that some people out there that you see that are really fucking big have came and seen this guy and experienced this type of vision quest or this type of thing, right? And when I was talking to Kale and Trevor about it, one of the things, something that happened one time when they were there and doing that, they said literally there was a guy in there that had like post-traumatic stress syndrome from his military shit, from his military past. And they said that the dude literally took the ayahuasca and was walking around and looked like a fucking demon was inside of him, like pacing and angry and shit like that. And said the shaman ended up jumping on the dude and started smothering him and telling the dude, like, you know, that he needs to let go of what's inside of him because he's allowing this thing inside of his heart and his mind and his soul to smother him. And literally the whole group had to hold the guy down. But apparently when this guy came out of his ayahuasca trip, he was hugging people. He was telling people he loved them. He was a fucking changed person because he faced that demon that was inside of him. So it's some interesting shit. Really interesting shit.
That sounds like a very intense therapy session.
I think I need to go do that. It doesn't seem like it's very expensive from what I've heard. So I'm not going to say.
I'm on the fence about that. Like I feel like it would be something life changing, and I'm like scared as hell. I mean, I don't have a problem shitting myself or throwing up and stuff like that, but I think, in all honesty, with like
hell, last time I sneezed, I shit myself.
I think my biggest thing is like,
you guys ever do that? Sneeze and shit yourself? Sneeze. Oh, good Lord.
But it's like anytime that I've ever had done something that made me hallucinate, it never really went very well. Like when I really got out there, that's the only thing. I think that's the only thing that like frightens me about that.
I remember there was that one time I did that shit. What was that shit called? Salvia Divorum. And I did it with her brother.
God,
I did it with I did it with her brother and another dude. I mean, this was probably 17 years ago. 15.
We were like in our early 30s when this went on.
Okay, early 30s. Okay, well, it wasn't that long ago. So literally, I remember doing this stuff. Like it was called. This stuff was actually legal. Like you could go buy it.
And then they made it illegal.
Salvia Divorum, and we ended up smoking that shit with her brother and one of his friends, and it fucking wigged me out. Like I don't know what it was. Like her brother's laugh sounded like an evil cackle, and the other dude like wigged me out too. And later on, I found out that he pissed his pants.
Here's what they did though: they went into my son's room, which he
wasn't there.
He wasn't there, but he's looking at me. He's like, "What?" They went into my son's room and they shut the door. His pants
in your room, John. Now you know.
They were sitting on the floor, but it was pitch black in there. I don't know if that was the way you guys were supposed to do it, or if that's what you guys decided to do. Maybe I just feel like you guys didn't set the environment to where you guys felt safe.
I literally walked out of that room. I walked out of that room and I couldn't fucking look at them. Like I looked at her and said, "Tell him to leave."
John hid and I had to
put my head down in my lap, and I was gonna run and fucking jump out of our window. Like literally, luckily we just lived in a 1-story place.
We lived out in the middle.
We lived out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a farm, and I was gonna fucking jump out the window because I wanted to get away from them so bad.
We did not want John to turn.
I came up and I looked at her and I go, "Tell him to leave." Tell them to leave, them to get the fuck out of here. And they did. She basically kicked them out. Like, you guys got to go.
Yeah.
Get out of here. And so I was like, thank you.
John's very frightened right now.
You know what, though? The next day, something weird happened to me. I did feel like this cleansing, come through me, you know? But then I was also like, I ain't never going to trust them motherfuckers, her brother.
Hey, what's a DMT?
I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you. Apparently there's, from what Trevor was telling me, that there's literally like a DMT gland that's in our head. And when we die, the motherfucker sets loose. Like when
is it
people
another
actually
hallucinogenic?
die, Yeah, but when people actually die, it's called like it literally is supposed to bring you to like a place that can be either terribly fucking amazing or fucking horrible. And it's like a gland that releases in your head, and we have natural DMT in our system, and apparently it's what actually fucking hits us when we die. Which is pretty fucking interesting.
But he said it was like very amazing.
Yeah. He said for most of them it was amazing. And in fact, he said, I guess he had one of their friends that actually did it. And dude ended up, I feel like this is the fucking turned into the Joe Rogan podcast. Now we're going to start talking about elk meat and shit. Like the biggest smile on his face. I guess it only lasts for like 10 minutes. And then the dude immediately started crying.
Aww.
And that's because he felt he wasn't worthy to see or feel what he was seeing and feeling.
Aww.
Which is such a fucking mystery, but so interesting at the same time.
That makes me teary-eyed.
That makes her, it doesn't take much to make her teary-eyed.
No.
Does not take her much. Like I say things all the time. She'll go, shut up.
Yeah, I was telling him, I'm like, shut the fuck up. You're going to make me start crying now. Damn it.
Hey, this isn't a podcast unless I get Angela to cry on it for some reason.
You know, when we were at Apex one time, Stuman had a guy or gal that came in and was talking or something. And then Stuman got up there and did a prayer. And I'm like, damn it. I about started ugly crying.
Well, you know, it was interesting because I remember that time what you're talking about, what Stuman said. And one of the coolest things that Ryan actually said during that time, and this came from Pastor Keith, which we still haven't made it to his church, but we're going to have to get over there and check that out. He's right up here in Frisco. It's called Elevate Life Church. The dude's fucking amazing. He's hilarious. He called the government a bunch of pussies for making everybody wear masks, which I thought was amazing. But Pastor Keith basically said, you know, he's like, you know, the guys who I pray for, and he goes, I pray for like people like Joel Osteen, and I pray for like pretty much like all these like big preachers and stuff like that. So because what his premise was is that nobody's praying for him. You know what I mean? Like nobody's praying for him. So there's people out there that are like, whatever, you know, like Andy Frisella or Ed Milet or, you know, Ryan Stuman or, you know, some of these guys or Sean Whalen, right? It's like, go say a prayer for these guys because nobody's fucking out there praying for them, right? You know, they're not asking people to pray for them. Nobody's praying for them. So go out there and just say a prayer for these people. Be the one person that'll try to uplift them and pray for them because there ain't nobody fucking praying for them, right? And you know, because it's like we all forget that. We're like, oh man, this guy has everything. This person has everything. They've done everything, but you know, you don't know. And the truth of the matter is, they probably don't have anybody out there praying for them, you know. And so, and Stuman said something about that at one of our meetups that you know, that got her all teary and watery eyed.
Yeah,
I try to remember that too.
I was holding it back.
I try to remember that.
You know, like when you're ugly crying, that's like when you're letting it all out. No, it's not like that. No, John, you're like overly dramatic. That's not like that. No, that's not what I meant when I'm talking about ugly crying. Like ugly crying is you're letting it all out, but it's not like that.
Yeah. So
that was just kind of being a little dramatic right there.
That's how I ugly cry.
No, that's not how you ugly cry. I've seen you ugly cry before, but that's not like that.
When have you seen me ugly cry?
Like when our one schnauzer passed away, Moses.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the time I get the saddest. Like, fuck it. I'll be honest. I don't really cry when people die, but I cry when my dogs die. I hadn't even like fucking like it's so weird. Like I didn't know.
You got emotional when your dad passed away.
I did, but it wasn't as emotional. Like when I lost our one miniature, when I lost our one schnauzer, Moses, and he was only like 5 or 6 years old when we lost him.
5.
And he was 5 years old when we lost him. Like I would just be sitting there and fucking like pain would just come over me. Mm-hmm. And I would just like be sitting there alone and fucking start crying about it. And I found out later that was actually the feeling of grief. And I do believe that that's like the very first time that I felt grief. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, but I've talked to a lot of people about that, and that's like really fucking kind of like normal because your dogs are just there with you all the time. And if any of you guys are like dog people, like you're loving on them all the time, you're holding them all the time, they're there with you all the time. Shit, some of y'all are sleeping with them, like all like they're sleeping in your bed and shit. Like
animals don't have an agenda. You know how like some people will have an agenda?
They're just pure innocent.
They're pure innocent.
And it's
like
sad to
all
see
they
them.
care about is making you happy and wanting to be like loved.
And it's so sad to see the life come out of them, especially at an early age. It didn't really bother me as bad like some of our older ones that had passed away because, I just knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But when we lost him at that early of an age and it came so sudden, it was just like I was just fucking like hit from the left. Like it just came out of left field. Mm-hmm. And I believe that caused all of us a lot of pain. I mean, I do remember like during that time, like all of us, me, you, and John sitting at our kitchen table and all of us looking at each other and just bawling our eyes out over it. Yeah. That hadn't happened for like people. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm just going to be, this podcast. Most people won't even talk about or say.
So when Moses got sick, he ended up having something with his liver and his pancreas. But a couple days before we had to put him to sleep because nothing was working, I had this dream. And John said, do you remember how you said, like, I was saying, no, don't take him, or something of that nature? But I had this dream that my sister-in-law, Jill, she's been gone for a while, and she passed away unexpectedly. But she was standing in the doorway, and it was like this beautiful bright light behind her. And she was like standing there holding Moses, telling me that she was going to take him to heaven.
Yeah. Now we even got her crying more on the podcast.
No, I'm not crying.
It's getting close.
No, I'm holding it back. It's all good.
Yeah. So anyhow, y'all, I appreciate you guys for coming along here tonight. And again, you guys, we got until Wednesday when we're kicking off the 75 hard thing. 40 savages on board. We got a group chat going on right now. It's going off the hook. Everybody's starting to post their plans. We talked a little bit. Some of you guys might not know what 75 hard is, but that's Andy Frisilla. And hey, look, to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower. So I'm following his map, what he put out there. It works. It's amazing. It brings a lot of people together. It changes people's lives. So we got 40 people inside of our group that is looking for an absolute 360 degree change in their life. They're looking to step out within 75 days and become a new individual. So please support them along the way. And if you want to jump on board, we got until Wednesday. So I do have a post inside of the group that you can comment on, and I'm still going to take people because I just want as much support. I mean, when I put that out, I literally said something I thought was going to scare everybody away. And I said, if you plan on quitting, don't even fucking say a word on, don't plan on doing this if you plan on fucking quitting, is basically what I said. And because I don't do fucking life with quitters, blah, 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 blah. And so I really thought like I heard like crickets for a little while on that post because I think people were just like, oh, fuck, well, if I do with him, he's really going to be hard on me if I quit.
Dare him.
But that's my way of pushing people to become bigger and better. Okay. Because we all got life. We're all busy and shit like that. Look, you make time for what's important. And you make time, my friends. And this right here is going to be a challenge for everybody inside of the group to jump in there and change your life, like literally change your life. We used to do this. Like I know that Andy Frisilla gave it a name of 75 hard, but we used to do this shit when I was kids. We just called it 2-a-days, and we went on diets for long periods of time. And you just feel better, look better, you're mentally sharper, you become a better person during this type of challenge. And so be on the lookout. We're going to crush it here in the Marketing Savage group. Again, like I don't even know of another group that done it with so many members. I'm sure there are, but I haven't been involved in it. This is going to be the biggest group that I'm involved in right now with as many members that we have that are doing it. And y'all know what's up, man. I'm going to fucking lead up here from the front of the pack. And I want to make sure that I push myself 10 times harder than anybody in there. And also something that I posted inside of the group is that I want leaders to step up. Like we need as many leaders in this world as possible. I can only lead so much. We need people around us, not only inside of this group, but we need leaders inside of the 75 Hard. We need leaders every fucking where in our communities, everywhere. And that shit all starts here. That shit all starts by being a good follower and doing something, creating discipline in your life and going out there and sharing that message with the world.
Yes.
You know, Jesus Christ said something. I have not done a Savage Sunday sermon, but Jesus Christ said a good leader was a good follower. And that's the reason why he washed the feet of his disciples, is because he was letting them know that he was a servant leader, and the world needs more servant leaders. You know, an actual leader, there was a picture described that I seen like a meme a while back that was talking about a boss where all the workers were in front of the boss and they were pulling the boss on this sleigh, almost like play. And then they showed a picture of what a leader looks like, and a leader was at the fucking front of the line pulling everybody behind him. Okay, he was part of it. We need more of that shit in our community and everywhere around us. So I'm so proud for everybody who decided to step up, you know, with the 75 Hard Challenge, and the people that are stepping up as leaders, not only inside of the group, but inside of the 75 Hard group. Man, I commend each and every one of you. I want to thank Jeff Smith for jumping on board as a leader as well. And I'm sure there's going to be many more emerge inside of the group. So that's it.
And see how our podcast is like a roller coaster.
It gets happy and sad and drugs and
that's a little bit
working
about
out
everything.
And doing 75 Hard. Somebody did make mention in the 75 Hard group that Andy did not say no cocaine.
You ain't doing that shit.
I don't do cocaine anyway, but that was somebody in the group.
That stuff's not good for you.
Just a little toot. Come on.
Listen, listen. It's a good time when you're doing it, but that next
cocaine
day
is fucking terrible. The next day,
you feel like you're dying.
Cocaine is fucking terrible.
Did it once when I was in my 20s.
Last time I did it was that time.
And that was it.
Yep. That was the very first time she farted in front of me, by the way. She did a little toot and farted and did a little toot and had a little toot.
I did more than just a little.
I was so thankful that she finally farted, because I'd been holding in. I had been holding in fucking layers upon layers of farts.
You would disappear for like 20 minutes. And I'd
just be standing in the restroom going, brr,
brr. I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
As soon as she let a fart in front of me, it was fucking game over. I lifted my leg and I already had probably about 10 of them packed behind me. Just let them loose.
Oh, I was mortified. And then he like brings out the Febreze and squirting it around the room. And I'm like, oh, dear God.
Yeah, I had to Febreze this girl.
Yeah.
He's stinking.
Hey, shit happens.
Stinky farts. All right. So anyhow, y'all, appreciate you for coming along on the Marketing Revolution podcast. And as usual, I'm going to see you on the next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking